I have great respect for your Prime Minister. He's a fantastic man and friend of mine. And we're going to have a good deal.
US President Donald Trump praises Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a mega money control exclusive, calls PM Modi a close friend and expressed confidence that India and United States will have a good deal soon. Trump walks back on Greenland tariffs threat, says he has arrived at a framework for a future deal with NATO on Greenland and the entire Arctic region, while the European Parliament formally suspended ratification processes on its US trade deal. US stock futures are beat after Trump tempers Greenland fears. Asian markets start on a positive note. GIFT Nifty is indicating a gap-up start for the Indian markets. And artificial intelligence is a changing industry, and India, says Infosys CEO Salil Parekh, adds growth will compensate for shrinkage caused by AI. Wipro Chairman Rishad Premji says India has a unique opportunity to leverage AI adoption that's an exclusive. Zomato parent company Eternal reports a blockbuster performance in Q3, strong EBITDA growth led by quick commerce. Our company also announces Dipinder Goyal will step down as the CEO but will remain on the board as the vice chairman. Albinder will be taking over as the group CEO. Hello, good morning. You're tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. I'm Vinny Motiwala. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in. Now, the updates or the commentary that we have coming in overnight from Donald Trump as well has kept the Asian markets on the positive footing this morning. Look at all the Asian markets, right? Whether you look at the Hang Seng, Taiwan Index, ASX 200, Kospi, all of them are managing to hold on to very strong gains. When you look at the South Korean index, Kospi, which I'm talking about, that is also at around those record high levels for them. So positive commentary coming in from Donald Trump, or step back maybe on that Greenland front, saying not as much of a threat that what one was watching out for in terms of use of military. That may not be happening. So that is a bit of a positive sign there. And that is why a positive opening that's coming for the Asian markets. Nifty implied open as of now is indicating a gap-up start for the Indian markets. 181 points, 180 points up as of now is what the Nifty implied open is indicating. Do not forget that, yes, we have seen a fall coming in. In the last 7 trading sessions, only 1 trading session that the Nifty managed to close in the green. Today is a positive start, is what we are keeping an eye out on for the Indian markets. But let's move on and look at how all this global market action is going to be impacting our Indian markets. We have a team of research joining in with us to set you up for trade, tell you which are the important stocks to watch out for in the trading session as well. First up, we have Hormaz, who's joining us to tell us the important cues to watch out for in today's trading session. Good morning, Hormaz.
Morning, Vinny. And I tell you what, Sudarshan's beaming in the frame today because he was telling us yesterday that all depends on what Donald Trump says at Davos, and what Donald Trump says at Davos has led to what the GIFT Nifty is doing today. Almost 180 points higher now as we speak as to what he said yesterday about striking a good deal with India, and some relief would surely be welcome from the bulls, especially considering the session that we had yesterday. Opened at 25,140, fell to 24,900 in the first couple of hours, then recovered to 25,300, then fell back to 25,150, all in a single day. And yesterday wasn't even expiry. That's today. That's the sensex expiry that we are talking about. So that is one factor you need to watch out for. Of course, the reaction to Trump's remarks will be paramount today on sectors like textiles, on sectors of the shrimp feed names, the export-oriented names. All of them will be on the radar today. What also you should be keeping an eye out for is what the index heavyweights do. The index heavyweights have been big underperformers, be it Reliance, be it ICICI Bank, all of them. They will be key to ensuring that the Nifty sustains above key levels. So what are those key levels? 25,300 is the first one. By the looks of it, we're most probably opening above those levels, mostly above the 25,350 mark as well. So that's the first level you need to watch out for. On the downside, in case, if any, the 200 DMA, of course, 25,123, then the 25,000 mark. That's the line in sand. That is one thing you need to watch out for. A slip below that and a sustained slip below that could even open doors for that September 30 low of 24,587 from where the Nifty had eventually reversed from. Now, the defense stocks is one such theme that you need to keep an eye out for today as well. Why is that so? Because the European Union has agreed to a new defense framework or a defense partnership with India. It's been spoken about before. More details will emerge next week when the deal is signed, but keep an eye out on the defense names. For the bank Nifty, that's the index you need to watch out for, because from levels of 60,000 plus, it's now even slipped below the 59,000 mark. That's the first level to watch on the Nifty bank. Then go to 59,500 and we take it forward from there. It's an earnings heavy day, possibly the busiest day in terms of earnings this week. Indigo, Indian Bank, CAMS, Premier Energies, Coforge, DLF, all of them big broader market names reporting results today. Also watch out for Anthem Bio, because shareholder lock-in ends today. 23,000 crore worth of shares that will free up for trade. That's an important thing to watch out for. But for now, the GIFT Nifty is indicating a gap up start. The big question is, can that sustain? We leave that to Sudarshan to answer that question.
Yes, we will go to Sudarshan to answer that question in a short while. Before that, let's look at the stocks that we're keeping on our radar this morning. We have Upasna to give us those details. Good morning, Upasna.
Good morning, Vinny. First up, let me start with Dr. Reddy's. Must say that it's a good set of numbers. The revenue grows at 4.4% versus flat expectation is what was expected by the street. Now, revenue has seen a 4% uptick. Net profit is down 14.5%, but margins stood at 23.5% versus the poll of 21.8 that we were working with. Next up is HPCL. It's a top-down miss. Margin is below our poll. Revenue has seen an uptick of 14.2%. Margin stood at 6.1 versus our poll of 7.2. Next up is Eternal, a strong set of numbers here. Dipender Goyal steps down as the CEO, is what the recent update is what the company has indicated. Revenue has seen an uptick of 20% and margin has also expanded by 50 basis points at 2.3%. KEI Industries revenue growth stood at 20%. It misses the street estimates of nearly about 25 to 30% growth that the street was working with. Revenue has stood at 2,954 crore. Margin stood at 10.8% versus 9.9%, and net profit has seen an uptick of 42%. Jindal Stainless Steel is an inline set of numbers. Revenue has seen an uptick of 6%. Net profit up 27% on year-on-year basis. Next up is Bank of India. NII up 6%. Loan growth stood at 13.6% versus the guidance of 13 to 14% given by the company. So it's well within the guidance. And NIMs have also improved for the company by 16 basis points sequentially to 2.5%. Next up is PNB Housing. NII up 13%. NIMs have declined 4 basis points versus expectations of a 5 basis point increase here. Eclairix board meeting is scheduled on 28th of Jan to consider bonus issue. Next up is Indocount. The company begins its commercial production at its Greenfield pillow manufacturing facility in USA. And lastly, we'll be looking at Senco Gold as well, as the company plans to acquire 68% stake of August Jewelry under the brand name Melora for nearly about 68 crore. So all in all, we'll be watching out for all these stocks in today's trading session.
Okay, Upasna, thank you so much for that. Finally, Sudarshan, Hormaz tossed it to you to tell us, are these levels going to sustain? We have commentary that came in even on India front. Today is a good day at least.
Good morning, Vinny. So, less than 24 hours and we've got the answer why exactly yesterday we were saying that Trump comments matter the most. And now he has commented about both Greenland and he's going to sign the India deal very soon, and also has talked about India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, that he has basically praised that he's a good man and good friend of US President Donald Trump. So, two important levels for Nifty. On the downside, 25,114. And on the upside, 25,585. These two are very important levels. Now, if Nifty fails to hold 25,100, as Hormaz told you, in all probability, it might slip to as low as 24,500. But if it holds on to levels above that and crosses 25,585, it can go as high as 25,900. Two sectors that will be in the focus today: financials and IT. IT has been the biggest underperformer over the last few days, considering all the uncertainties of AI and the commentary that we have been getting from US. And financials were on a very strong footing until yesterday, but yesterday that also saw a huge downtick intraday. So these two sectors will be in the focus. As far as the FI flows are concerned, in the index futures, we did see selling yesterday, and that selling was almost 600 crore. But in the stock futures, they were buying, and that was more than 50 1,500 crore. And also we have seen minor increase in the FI's long exposure. That increased to 11%. On the short side, it has come down to 89%. But they continue to add short positions. Yesterday also they have added short positions of more than 10,400 contracts. Now coming to the options data. So on the call side, 25,200, 25,100 had seen maximum call writing. And on the put side, maximum put writing was seen at 25,100 and 25,000. So it's telling you that on the downside for now, 25,100 seems to be protected. So support 25,114, resistance 25,580 for Nifty. Nifty Bank support 58,280. That is the intraday low of yesterday. And resistance would be around 59,546. That's the 20-day moving average. Two stocks that were already in the band and they remain in the band, SAIL and Sammaan Capital. Bandhan Bank, just ahead of the earnings, has come in the band. And some of the stocks that I'll keep an eye on, Bank of India has come out with a very strong set of earnings. So this stock will be in the focus. Second, PNB Housing has missed estimates both on NII and also on loan growth. And lastly, Eternal has reported very strong set of earnings, but Deepinder Goyal has resigned as CEO. Now he has become vice chairman, will remain on the board. So keep an eye on this stock too.
Okay, so Darshan, thank you so much for that. We'll be keeping an eye out on those important levels, 25,114 as well as 25,585. That's what Darshan has mentioned. Thanks so much for that FNO update there. But on that note, let's move on. And US President Donald Trump praises Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a mega money control exclusive, calls PM Modi a close friend and expressed confidence that India and United States will have a good deal soon. Listen in.
Mr. President, this is Chandra Shrikant from India. Can you give us an update on the India-US trade deal?
First of all, I have great respect for your Prime Minister. He's a fantastic man and friend of mine. And we're going to have a good deal.
US President Donald Trump also addressed world leaders and CEOs at Davos, and amid his threat to annex Greenland, in the speech, Trump insisted that the United States needs to take the Arctic islands, even as he took swipes at European leaders sitting in the audience. CNBC TV 18 Shireen Bhan gets us all the important developments from the president's speech. Listen in.
You know, this was quintessential Trump, and as I've been reporting, I mean, this was expected, that Trump would go after Greenland. Trump would say that he wants Greenland, that Trump was going to go after Europe while he's in Europe, and he did exactly that. But I think the most important statement of that speech, the statement of importance and value, is the fact that Trump said that I could use excessive force, but I will not. And that is why you're seeing the US markets rebound, coming off their intraday lows in response to that one statement. The rest of it was performative. The rest of it was Europe is doing a bad job, America's doing a great job, every other American administration has done a bad job but mine. You know, we are going to make America great again, going after individual leaders. And it's very, very clear that President Trump has been following what's been happening here at Davos 2026, because he went after Mark Carney, who spoke yesterday and got a standing ovation here at the World Economic Forum. He went after Macron, who also spoke out against what the Trump administration is doing. So he made it a point to call out people, in his words, have been ungrateful to the US, but also once again attacking the Fed chief, saying that Jerome Powell continues to not do what he ought to do, but also said there, and that's important for the markets, that he's going to announce the name of the next Fed chair shortly. So in a few days from now, perhaps you could see the next Fed chief, but also making it a point to say that when they go to office, they somehow change. So that once again brings into question what we will see in terms of central bank independence with the new appointment that President Trump is expected to announce. Look, as we went into this, it was very clear the European leaders are unhappy. But given the fact that President Trump seems to have said, or at least not ruled out, but put off the force option as of now in his public address, does it leave the room open for some sort of dialogue and negotiation? We will have to wait to see. But the mood in Europe is one of anger. They are upset. And I think what we're starting to now see, and we saw that yesterday with Macron, with Carney, etc., is that there is a pushback now, and people feel like you cannot bully us, you know, on a daily basis, as President Trump seems to have been doing with the threat of tariffs and so on and so forth. But this was quintessential Trump, played on script and played to the galleries back home as well. And of course, we will wait to see what the reaction.
Thanks so much for that, Shireen. But on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. Up next, we get you more excerpts of United President Donald Trump's interview with CNBC. Welcome back to Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. Now let's move on. And US President Donald Trump said that he and NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte have formed the framework of a future deal with respect to Greenland. In an interview with CNBC's Joe Kernan, minutes after posting the statement, Trump described Greenland framework as the concept of a deal. Listen in.
Well, we have a concept of a deal. I think it's going to be a very good deal for the United States, also for them. And we're going to work together on something having to do with the Arctic as a whole, but also Greenland. And it has to do with the security, great security, strong security, and other things.
The market, 600 points, getting back a lot of some of the nervousness we had in the last couple of days. The tariffs are off. Nothing happens on February 1st.
No, we took that off because it looks like we have pretty much a concept of a deal.
A deal of ownership, a deal...
Well, it's a little bit complex, but we'll explain it down the line. But the Secretary General of NATO and I and some other people were talking, and it's the kind of a deal that I wanted to be able to make.
Where does Denmark, did they weigh in on what they want, what they would agree to?
Well, I assume they did because he very much represents, he's a strong leader. Mark, you know Mark, Rutte. And he... I assume he's been speaking to them. He's been speaking to all of them.
Also, the U.S. president signaled that he has a favorite for the Fed chair's replacement. Listen in.
The replacement for Jay Powell.
It's true.
I just saw the Mr. Hassett, who I have a pretty good relationship with. And you're right.
He's fantastic.
He comes on.
I like actually keeping him where he is, to want to know the truth. I don't want to listen. He's so good on television.
On CNBC would be a great time to give us more.
So good on
Are we down to 2 now? Are we down to... I heard Rick Reeder had a strong...
I'd say we're down to 3, but we're down to 2, and I probably can tell you we're down to maybe 1. You know, all 3 are good. All 3 would be, I think, good. We have a problem with the man that's there now. He's too late. He's always too late, except when it comes to politics for the other side. Yeah.
Let's move on. And meanwhile, the European Parliament has frozen its work on a key EU-US trade deal, pushing back against President Donald Trump's demand over Greenland. European lawmakers had been considering proposals to cut import duties on US goods and extend zero tariffs on American lobsters, but those plans are now on hold. The pause is the strongest material response the EU has shown so far to what several leaders last week called blackmail. Let's move on. An eminent economist and former first deputy MD IMF, Geeta Gopinath, warns of a fragile global economy with US-Europe tensions and tariff risk as a key headwind. Speaking to CNBC TV 18 Shireen Bhan on the sidelines of the World Economic Forum's 2026, she said that US and Europe are turning against each other, and that is the biggest global economic story for 2026. Listen in.
We still have very easy financial conditions. And we're in this world of geopolitics, as you and I are seeing right here in Davos, and all kinds of explosive messages coming out of all heads of state.
Yes.
And if there were truly an EU-US tariff war, because so far, there's been a tariff war, but it's been one-sided, which is US has imposed it and the EU has not retaliated. But now they are threatening to retaliate. If they do, then I do expect markets will react much more strongly.
Okay, on that note, we're going to slip into a very short break. After the break, we'll get you cues from Wall Street. Stay tuned in. Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned into Power Breakfast on CNBC TV 18. And in the U.S. market, what happened? Wall Street closed Wednesday's trading session higher after U.S. President signals a framework for Greenland has been reached. All major indices close above 1%. The Dow gains nearly 90 points, while the S&P 500 adds nearly 80 points. The tech-heavy Nasdaq also added 270 points at close. Let's go across to CNBC's Steve Kovac, who is getting us a wrap on what happened on Wall Street.
U.S. markets were up significantly across the major indexes in Wednesday trading, with all three gaining more than 1% after President Trump said he's reached a Greenland deal framework and pulled back on the terror threat to NATO member states. The Dow gained 589 points, the S&P 500 was up 79 points, and the tech-heavy Nasdaq added 271 points. Fed Governor Lisa Cook's job seemed safe for now after Supreme Court oral arguments on Wednesday. The justices appeared skeptical of the administration's argument that the president could fire Cook or another Fed governor for cause without judicial review. Conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh said that would weaken, if not shatter, the independence of the central bank. Cook sued the president in September over his claimed power to remove her for allegations that she committed mortgage fraud. And pending home sales dropped sharply in November, down more than 9% month over month. That's according to the National Association of Realtors on Wednesday. Analysts had expected a slight gain. The sales decline across all regions except the South, where sales were annually higher. Homes also stayed on the market longer in December at an average of 39 days, up from 34 days in 2024. That's what's happening here in the U.S. Back to you, Mumbai.
Thank you so much for that, Steve. But on that note, Nifty implied open continues to indicate a gap up start for the Indian markets as of now up 176 points. But that's all the time we have on Power Breakfast this morning. Thank you so much for tuning in. Up next, your Bazaar Morning Call.